Hello and welcome to my video. Right, well, as I was saying in my very bad intro, welcome to my video. It's been a while, haven't been too well, but things are improving, and I now feel a little bit of inspiration coming on. Today, right, what am I going to do? Well, I thought I would, I'm going to do a simple one, obviously, because I like them simple. Try not to kick the camera, Stuart. 80 by 60 centimetres, inches on the screen if you want them, about now. And let's just see what we get. It's going to be a cloudscape with a simple landscape underneath. And let's see what we can do. I'm going to use some colours that I don't usually use. I mean, I'm going to use the usual, favourites, that's sap green and red ochre, but I'm also going to use Japanese red, cadmium yellow, what else, what am I going to use for blue? I'm going to use ultramarine blue, I'm going to use a shovel load of Payne's grey, and we'll see what happens. Oh, and titanium white, of course, can't do anything without titanium white, but it's going to be a little bit different. I've got my piles of paper all ready to go here. The way it's going to be different is my approach. Quite often I paint a picture and I do the landscape and the sky at the same time, and people have asked, why don't you paint the sky first? Well, there's no real reason. I just sort of like to experiment, see how things go, and quite often it may sound silly, but I quite often like to set myself a little challenge. In other words, make a little bit of a mess with the sky and the landscape and see if I can actually combine them and make them work. And it sort of keeps me on my toes. What am I going to use for a medium? I'm going to use linseed oil. And let's just get a bit of sky in. Now, you're going to find this a little bit unlike me. It's going to be quite a bright sky. It's always going to be a sunset or a sunrise. I don't know whether it's a sun up or sun down. I suppose whatever it looks like, it will be that. So just for starters, I'm just going to put a line across there like so. And as usual, this is plywood. It's called Okumi. It's quite good quality. It's an African mahogany. I don't know whether it's expensive or not. There was a time earlier in the year when it was quite hard to get hold of, and the price did go up a little bit, but I was in the enviable position where I'd just bought a load of wood, so I didn't have to go out and buy any during the expensive time. So yeah, it didn't really affect me. Now that there is Japanese red and cadmium yellow. In fact, it's cadmium yellow deep hue, made by Le Franc-en-Bourgeois. It's this one. Deep hue, I think normally it's just called cadmium yellow deep, but this is French, so it's going to be slightly different. Now the actual sky, these are the light bits. that's the light and bright bit. What I'm going to do in a minute, when I find a brush, here's one, and here's another one, good. Start off with those, I think. I'm going to use Payne's grey, and I'm going to chuck a little bit of it next to that to see what happens. Some oil, not much, mostly grey. And I just want to experiment. Obviously the salad part of the landscape will be down there. And up here, first of all, let's just put on some Payne's grey. Just want to see what happens. Let's just put it on and not worry about it, because let's not worry about anything. There we go. That's quite interesting, isn't it? Now, what I'm after is this effect. Okay, you see what, maybe you see where I'm going with that. Don't know. You might see where I'm going with that, you might not. What I'm after is this sort of distant rain effect, and also light through clouds. Now it looks a mess at the moment, obviously everything does at this stage. Let's have that across there, let's get rid of that hair. Do you know, it's almost as if there's some kind of vendetta between me and the brushes. I buy cheap brushes, and I can, you know, you can imagine them in the shop. Think, here he comes. Let's see if he gets one that is going to shed bristles all over his painting. And anyway, I do, so I might edit that bit out. Okay, right. So the landscape part underneath that. Obviously, I haven't finished the sky. There's going to be a lot more to the sky. In fact, there's going to be, let's just sort of take as many chances and risks as possible. What I want to do, you see, I don't want people to paint like me. I want people to learn how to relax. Now, I'm not teaching you to paint a picture in the style of Stuart Davies. I'm trying to teach you to paint a picture in a relaxed frame of mind, so that you really don't fret, because fretting is no good. Let's have some white down there. See how that does. That's quite nice, isn't it? There we go. And let's have a little bit of white coming up in a few places, like so. Doesn't get much more relaxed than that, does it? Okay, now let's get a really big brush. One that I haven't completely ruined. I think this one will do it. Okay. Pretty rough brush, but that's what I'm after at the moment. Quick swipe across like so. And another one. And another. Let's keep doing it for a second or two. Just see what we get. Yep, that's exactly what I want. Mind you, it is actually what I want. It may seem hard to believe that, but that's just the way it is. Right, so bit of ultramarine blue. Let's see, where should we put the ultramarine blue? Let's put some up there. This is obviously going to be a very disturbed sky. The best ones usually are. Do I mean disturbed or disturbing? And I'll tell you what, I promise that I'll stop kicking my camera in a minute. Let's get a little bit more. Okay. Interesting colours. Quite moody, but then again, you know, tonalism, it's all about mood, isn't it? You want your painting to be moody, and moody, I don't know about gloomy. Some people have said, oh, your painting's very gloomy. Well, never mind. I like a bit of gloom. Well, I like a bit of gloom in my pictures, particularly when I need gloom in my life. That's a nice dark shapes up here as well. Now, so when you start a painting, do you start really carefully, almost afraid to make a mistake? If you do, try not to do that. It's quite a hard habit to break. I mean, I remember when I first went to college, I was young and probably impressionable, and wanted to impress the teachers. I wanted them to think, oh, this guy's good. But that didn't work. They picked up on that straight away and started to, as they say, get on my case a bit and say, relax. Stop trying to impress us with your careful, detailed pictures. I don't think any of them actually said go and smoke some weed and relax a bit, but I'm sure they were thinking it. I don't know. But you know, funny thing, I went to college, went to art school in the 60s, and I never saw a single drug. It's supposed to be the druggy time. Maybe it was in certain parts of the world, but in the little seaside town of Eastbourne, on the south coast of the UK, when I went to college, there was not a drug on the horizon. Not that I looked, but I certainly never came across any. Anyway, that's beside the point. So my point that I was trying to make is that, they wanted me to relax, and they were spot on. Absolutely spot on, because I needed to relax. Everyone did. We all needed to stop being too careful and just get the paintings done. Bang them out, literally chuck the paint on, see what happens, and don't give... there's an English saying, particularly, I suppose it's a London saying, don't give 'em monkeys, or don't give a rat's behind about what it's going to look like, because it's part of the learning process, and you will suddenly understand where you're going with your paintings the more you relax and get the paint on, get an effect and spot a good effect, or one that you can make interesting. What is a good effect? Questions. What is a good effect? I don't know. I'm not so interested in. That's a better one. I'm not so interested in selling paintings. I like making videos. I don't think I'm particularly good at making videos. I get by. But I don't know. I like communicating to people in a simple way on how to do things to save you the trouble and anguish of spending years and years and years doing the wrong thing. I mean, some people say there is no wrong. I'm not convinced that that's true. I think there is a wrong. And you really need to bypass all the rubbish and just get to the crux of the matter, and that is, make a painting. Don't make stress, just make a painting. Relax, take your time. If you've been watching my videos and, you've got to sort of know me a bit, you may realise that, I'm not awfully well. I've got a heart problem. But the thing I have noticed is that when I paint, I feel much better. And when I start doing my Zoom class, I might feel rubbish just before the lesson, but by the time people are actually coming into the class and we start chatting and I start painting, I actually start to feel much better. Makes a big difference to my well-being. And I think that there's a lot to be said for painting as therapy. I think I want to pull, do I want to pull that down there a bit? I think I do a little bit more. Let's just have a few more of these little swipes down here. Let's have a couple of absolutely straight down sort of, you know the effect I'm after. It's like, it is distant rain just dropping in the distance. Maybe, yeah. Let's just see what happens anyway. So what do I do with that soft brush? Here it is. Okay, so let's just take off some of these brush marks. But this is a newish brush. Now, there are lines from the brush that are vertical there. You can't see them. Well, maybe you can if I look at the camera. But for the actual painting to look good, I can remove them literally with a quick swipe, like so. And it's amazing the difference it makes. Suddenly everything goes nice and soft. So you don't have to spend hours and hours blending. The landscape down here is going to be very simple. Just going to continue with the cloud for the moment. So a whole load more Payne's grey because I really do want some darkness at the top. I do like a dark top to a painting. Helps with the perspective. Talking of perspective, I think my easel's just collapsed. So I'm going to get that sorted out and I'll come back to you. There are times when I think I should just get a new easel. This one is getting a little bit dirty. Just kidding, of course. Now then, right, so where was I? Yeah, at the top there. Some nice Payne's grey and ultramarine blue. With a little bit of Japanese red thrown in. By doing this, it'll add light to the bottom. So, you know, of course, light only works next to dark. If everything was light on here, you wouldn't appreciate it. So, in fact, you might as well leave everything completely white, because what's the point? Right, so I'm painting the illusion of light. Same with all other artists. We're not actually painting light, painting an impression or an illusion of light. There we go. Right, so that's looking dark. And what do I do with my paper? Okay. So there's no wiping away. You know, I usually do this wiping away paint stuff. I might do a little bit of that on the landscape at the bottom when I come to it, but I'm just going to finish off these clouds first. Once that's done, you'll realise how quickly you can put in a landscape. Oh, I had a comment the other day, I must mention this. Someone said that they're learning how to do clouds quite well, and they're pleased with their progress on the clouds, which is good, because you know a lot of people think clouds are really hard. Clouds are actually not really hard. It's just a frame of mind. It's what you think. So, but they say they have trouble with the landscape. How do they imagine a landscape? Well, go by your, I suppose you could say, go by your limitations. In other words, imagine what you can. So this is going to show how to imagine what you can. Absolute minimum landscape. And you'll see that in a moment, probably a few minutes. So there we are, it's a nice dark bit over there. I think I want to break that light bit here, get a bit more dark in there. Okay, now, do you know, sometimes I go to the shop, I buy a load of brushes. I usually check them in the shop just to see if they're going to fall apart. I didn't check these. I was in a hurry, so I just went in, grabbed a whole load of brushes and just left. And I shouldn't do that. I've got home and I've got a bunch of brushes that are basically going bald. Anyway, never mind. Right, so there's a nice bit of cloud there. See how easily you can do cloud. This is not difficult. What I've done here is they're just colours. You see, they're not clouds. I know I kicked that camera again. Sorry about that. These aren't clouds. These are just, think of it as just paint. It's just, I'll tell you what, this is, some of you may find this interesting. I think the people who find clouds difficult are the people who are painting blue skies with white fluffy clouds. That takes a certain amount of skill. Now, you don't have to paint that kind of sky. A lot of skies just aren't like that. A lot of skies are more like this, and the way the planet's going are a lot more going to look like this too. So keep it loose, keep them dark, keep it, you know, strong darks, strong lights. You could use this technique for white fluffy clouds. In fact, you might have seen me do it on a few videos. I'll put some links, if I can find them, I'll put some links below of me doing blue skies with fluffy clouds. See what you think. Maybe that's what you're after. But you know, I just find this type of sky much more interesting. Let's just have a shape there because there we go. See, it's your world. What you're doing is you're creating your world. You can do anything you like with the sky. Nobody cares. It's your sky. So have fun with it. Now, okay, so we've got a little bit of red in the sky. I think we might have a little bit of dark down here as well. Why not? Let's just have it. Let's just do it because we are allowed to, because we are adults. If I can vote, I can do what I like on a painting. Think of it that way. There we go. Nice bit of something going on over here. Okay, there we go. That wasn't difficult, was it? Just a few shapes. Now then, back to the big brush. I say that loosely, so I've got to find it first. Oh, here we are. There we go. Right. Big brush, biggish brush. It's not my biggest brush at the moment, but it's big enough. And I just want to do a bit of smoothing. So you all know how I do that. It's this, 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 and that. Very, very lightly. Incredibly lightly. So that you're barely touching the painting. Picking up a little bit of paint, but not a lot. Hopefully I'm keeping out of the way too. You know, I really, it sounds silly, I really do forget that I'm videoing sometimes. I'm just standing here, jabbering away, occasionally losing the thread. But, you know, I'm at an age where that's perfectly acceptable. Well, I must say, you know, I'll be 70. I'll be 71. How many months' time? Oh my goodness, under 3 months. Yeah, I'll be 71. I seem to still have my marbles, as they say. I've got, seem to have my memory totally intact. Oh, that's interesting. Let's do that again, and that. There we are. Some interesting light bits shooting up there. Yeah, my mind seems to be working okay. I don't forget much. I forget where I put my brush sometimes, but if you could see what this room is like, you'd understand totally. I have to say though, it always makes me laugh. When I go to the supermarket, I've always done this though, even when I was young. I have to park the car near something that I'll remember. There's a nice hair there that needs to come off. I always put the car, you know, near a landmark. Or I'll stand and look at the car and I'll look at what's behind it. And then I'll look at the door I'm going to walk into and sort of line them up so that I will remember when I come out the shop where I've actually put my car. And so I still do that. It's not that my memory is fading or got worse or anything. It's just that when I'm in a shop and walking around buying stuff, the last thing on my mind is actually where the car is. And I have, I must admit, I walked out of the shop occasionally and had to sort of flick my my key fob a bit, you know, press the button on it to see which car flashes its lights at me. Then I know it's mine. But yeah, that does happen. I think that's normal, frankly. But then I would say that, wouldn't I? There we are. Interesting sky. Not too bad. Coming along. So a bit of landscape. I think I might, I'll zoom in and raise it up so you can see what I'm going to do with the landscape in a moment. I'm not quite ready to do that yet. I think what I want to do, I've got my palette knife here. What should we use? I think we'll use this. This is sort of my favourite. I have no idea where this came from. I think a student left it here. It just seems to be the right sort of type for clouds. So I'm going to use it. Now then, let me see. Where do I need some extra light? I think I need a little bit just up there, funnily enough. Do I? Wait a minute. Let me think. Do I? Yeah, I do. Okay, I think what I want is a few little bits just under that. Keep out of the way, Stewie. Right, under that cloud. Always remember, because I'll always nag, clouds have got to go off the edge. I won't go on about it, but it's just a little reminder. It must go off the edge of the painting. There we are. Right, enough said. And you all know why. So I'm not going to tell you. Okay, so let's see what we got. We've got that. Do I like that? Do I like that? I sort of like it. I think it still needs a little bit to come down there. Don't ask me why I come up with these ideas. Well, no, right, go and ask. Okay, well, the reason I come up with these shapes of clouds, and I'm talking to myself saying, do I want this? Do I want that? I'm sort of running through my mental slideshow of skies that I've seen, thinking which one would suit that. I think that one would. I can't tell you when I saw this sky, other than to say it's quite recent. But I do have, in my memory, I have skies going back years and years and years that I've never forgotten because they were just so incredible. And that's, you know, this is just a recent one I saw last summer, I think it was. Okay. Doesn't take long, does it? I've no idea how long I've been painting, but this has not taken awfully long. Okay, so we've got some nice white flecky bits. Let's just blur them a little bit. So it's a very, very light, fast flick. So I want the brush to skim over it and barely touch it. And then I know I will get the effect that I want, and that is to blur it but not move it. I'm wondering whether to put a moon in the sky on this one. Shall I put a moon? It's a pity I can't. Maybe it'll happen in the future with YouTube if they could do a sort of live poll type thing. So I would paint a version with a moon and one without a moon, and you click on something. When you click moon, it would flick over to another part of the video, which would actually show how to put a moon in. Don't think they've got that yet, so maybe I won't do it, but I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing and then think on the moon aspect. Do I want a moon? Okay, let's have a bit more light up there. Okay, let's repeat something else. Okay. You think this is a crazy sky? You may think it's a nice sky, and you think, oh, I wish I could paint a sky like that. You may think it's completely bat-dropping I don't like to swear on videos because not everyone wants to hear expletives, but bat dropping crazy. I'm sure you can figure that one out. Is it a crazy sky? If you think it is a crazy sky, I'm going to say it, I probably said it in the last video, go and look at William Turner sky and you'll see how calm this one is. There we are, a little bit of blurring up there. What you can't see is me wiping this every now and then. I should show you that. And wiping my fingers too. But failing. This thing about if you use white paint, when you're using white paper and you're using a palette knife, you'll get white paint on the paper and not see it because, well, because it's white. And then it comes off the paper all over your hands. So I'm going to have a quick look in the camera here. Yeah, that's okay. Interesting, these cloud shapes here start to look like landscape already, but they're not. They are going to be clouds. So I might soften just a little bit there. Because I don't want, well, it's going to look like landscape. No, it doesn't matter. Okay, there we go. So I've got some white paint along the bottom edge there, which means that I can push my landscape into it. I've got this shape here, a bit like a sausage in the middle. I'm not sure I want a sausage in the middle there, so I'm going to lose it. Let's de-sausage it. So I'm going to pick up some more sausage colour, which is Ultramarine Blue and Payne's Grey. And what shall I do? Let's pull that up there. Let's just connect those a little bit. My goodness, I've never seen so many rampant bristles. Okay. Right, I think that breaks it down a little bit. Let's just have a few swipes on there just to sort of lose the streaks. That's okay. Now, I'm starting to notice that the sunlight is bouncing on the painting a little bit. It's bouncing over this edge here. So I'm going to go and close my shutter properly. The problem with this, with my studio, I have shutters and I have to close them at a certain time of the day because the light comes in, bounces off the floor and then up onto the painting. And makes life difficult, so we'll just cut there and I'll come back. Well, that I hope is slightly better. It's not wonderful, but I think it's okay. Right, so the landscape part. Let's move the camera. So I'll probably cut it again, or I might just let you watch. Why not? So. Right, so I got my sky. Now let's have a look down the bottom there and see how simple a landscape we can make. Sap green and red ochre, usually sap green and red ochre, but I could do it, make it different. I wonder. Let's try, I'm going to leave out the red ochre. I'm going to use sap green and varying blues. And then I can always change my mind in a moment if I don't like it. So yeah, sap green, one of the most versatile greens that you'll ever come across. That's what the tube looks like, if that's of any interest to anyone. It's just a tube. And it's a very dark green. I use this make, Le Franc-Bourgeois, nothing to do with the name, not interested. The paint's okay, you know, there are better paints. For price, it's sort of mid-range, I guess. But the sap green is nice and dark. Some sap greens aren't. Some of them, they call it sap green, but it's like a pale green. But this is a dark green. And that's what I want. So let's get some hills. Which brush should we use? I'm not going to use that one. not going to use that. That's for the sky. So I'm going to use another one, and it's not too big. I don't want a giant brush for this. It's that sort of size. That's actually 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters. And you can figure out next to my hand roughly what that sort of size is in inches. I have no idea. Now then, landscape. Let's have a bit of oil, a bit of green, and as usual I mix it to the point where it makes the paint move but it doesn't drip. This has got sap green on it, and I can do that and it doesn't come off. Okay, so don't overdo the oil. I mean, you can paint with a lot of oil, it's just that I don't at the moment with this sort of picture. Not a lot of paint on here, and I'm not even sure what we'll do with the landscape. So let's just get some colour on there. And let's keep out the way. Don't even know if I'll put trees on this. I might just keep it really simple. Let's do that old trick. I love that effect. The curl like that. It pulls people into the picture quite well. It's all trickery. Now I can change this because I'm putting on dark green. Doesn't mean to say it's all going to be dark green. So, for instance, I can add a little bit of dark there by painting slowly, just on that hill there. If you can see it, I think. Yeah, good. And then down here, let's have that curl again. Let's pull that in there. In fact, let's take that right down there. Don't know why at the moment, just feel like it. Okay, a little tiny bit more oil. Not to make it more oily, it's just I want more paint. Okay, distant hills. Let's just put in some shapes and see where it takes us. You see, until you get paint on there, there's nothing you can do with it. Right, so I think I'm going to add some red ochre. Green's okay, but I think I want a little bit of brown in it. And in a few places there will be a bit of, let me think. There'll be some bits where I've wiped out where it'll just look more brown than green, but I'm going to sort of play it by ear. As usual, I don't know how long I've been painting on this. Doesn't feel like an hour yet. I can usually gauge an hour quite accurately by how my back feels. And if you're young and you've never had back trouble, I hope you never have it. Okay, right, so let's get some brown. It's funny how red and green work together. You see, most greens do contain a certain amount of red. If the green doesn't contain the red, then the soil underneath the green, where it goes a bit thin, you know, the grass goes a bit thin, you'll get brown showing through and all kinds of interesting colours. So just have fun. You see how that, just adding brown just changes that so much. Quite a nice effect. In fact, I'm going to lose a lot of this green because I like the sludgy browns, funnily enough. Is that even vaguely fun? No, you know what I mean. Why don't I turn my computer off when I'm making videos? Will I even remember to edit that beep out? Does it even matter? Questions, questions, questions. My goodness. Right. Over here, I'll tell you what, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this brown on here. Right, so that's the point now where the entire board has paint all over it. And I've always liked this effect of subsiding ground. So I'll explain what that means. So a little bit more oil. All done with a really cheap brush. In fact, if I was painting just this picture and I included the board, the amount of paint I'm using and the amount of brushes I'm using, it's probably in dollars under $20. That's how cheap it can be to start painting. Okay, let's have that effect there, and I'll explain that in a minute. So at the moment it's just a brown sort of splodge going across the painting, but when you get a piece of paper with lots of bumps in it, you can get interesting effects like that. It sort of introduces a bit of light. Let's take some of the green away as well with the same piece of paper. Just put some shapes on there like so, a few dabs, a couple of streaks, a little bit down there, a bit of texture, and suddenly your painting starts to look as though it's somewhere on a highly textured planet. Right, so let's see. More paper. Right, now then, sudden change of mind. I've slept on this overnight, and I really think that is possibly one of the worst landscapes I've ever painted. Let's be honest. And not only that, it's got a bug stuck on it. So sorry, bug, but a little bit of that bug will always be in my painting. Okay, so I really don't like that. It's just weak. It's too weak. So you know what you have to do. You've got to, well, as they say, you've got to do what you've got to do. And I've got to do this. I really do not like that landscape, so I'm going to just sort of push it about a bit, give it a hard time, and turn it into something that I do like, something much stronger, and in fact, even that, dare I say, is an improvement. That was really a bad bit of painting. See, not everything I do is wonderful. So in fact, I'm going to blur that right out, right through there, totally. Bring the sky down a little bit more, like so. There we are. Let's just get it off. Look at that. What a waste of time that was. Okay. Already, I think that is more interesting. There's a few things I don't like. I just spotted something else. I really don't like that hard line there. So you can use the same technique. Just smudge it out like so, push some paint around, make something interesting, and then get the big brush again. If I can figure out which one it was. Which one was it? Where did I put the big brush? Could it be this one? Could be that one. No, it's not that one. It's this one. Right. So, biggish. Not big. Biggish. There's a big difference between big and biggish. And I don't know what possessed me. It could be that there's been quite a long break because of my I was a little bit unwell, and it's been a while since I uploaded a video. Good 5 weeks. Didn't feel like doing anything much, but I am back. That's better. That's much more interesting there now. Much softer too. Okay, so let's see. And I think I'll do a little bit more with the white in the sky. I'm going to push this around quite dramatically here. Let's give it a really hard time because there's no way I'm going to paint a half-hearted painting. It's just not in me. There we are. That's sorted that sky out a little bit more. It doesn't take long. So, you know, as long as you've got the confidence. This is a good example of, you know, I don't care if it goes wrong. I just won't make the video. But if you're watching this now, it obviously went okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't show anyone. And I must be honest, it's never happened. You know, the only thing that stopped me uploading a video, and this always makes me laugh, is the fact that I forgot to turn the camera on. I videoed some, this was a few years ago, I videoed part of a painting. I paused to do something. I can't remember what it was. It might have even just been to let the cat out of the room or something, I don't know. But I forgot to turn the camera back on, and I continued all the way through the painting. Got to the end and I thought, well, that'll make a nice video. It didn't, because there wasn't one. I'd forgotten to turn the camera back on. Extremely embarrassing. But anyway, it's the only time it's happened. Every single video that you see from me has worked. I've never actually made one and not uploaded it. Don't know. Maybe it's experience. Don't know. But so I think the experience and brainwashing. You have to really think about it. You know, I worked from 1972 or 3, I think, 72 probably, all the way up until now. The only time I was ever unemployed was in 1976. One of the hottest summers on record in the UK. Whoops. And I was unemployed for 6 weeks. And I hated every minute of it, did not like it. I mean, I got unemployment money for 6 weeks, which in those days was nothing. In fact, it was less than nothing. I almost had to give money to them. It was that bad. But I didn't like drawing. You know, drawing money for doing nothing. I always preferred to work. And I was lucky. If I didn't have a job, I would make a job. In other words, I would become freelance. I used to have my own company called Smart Art. And I called it Smart Art because it, for some reason, made people laugh. And I think because it sounded like smart something. Smart art, possibly. And people remembered it, and they kept coming back for more. So I would do lots of freelance jobs, and also jobs in advertising agencies, designing anything that they wanted designing, basically. So yeah, I always liked to work. Now I've reached the age I am now, I can't actually enjoy doing nothing but just painting. I really enjoy the painting. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm pushing in a whole load of light through there. And the way I'm doing that is just clean paper, not a lot of texture. The texture is the other side. This is the smooth side. And then pulling it across the painting like so. That gives me a nice light band. Doesn't mean to say it will stay light, it could end up dark, but for the moment, because I've taken the salad off the bottom of the picture, let's have that. Let's get that railing. Let's give that some interesting tones in there. Cut down the amount of paint that's on there, and then start to figure out what I'm going to do with it. Before I go on though, I just want to show you something. I'm going to just go out in the hallway and get something, bring it in here and show you. So I'm going to cut the video. So we went to a winter market, and they were selling this mirror. Now, I'm not so interested in the mirror. There you are, you can see yourself in there. That's what you look like. That's the camera looking at the painting. Anyway, this is a turn of the last century frame. quite old, obviously. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? It's got a mirror taped inside it, which that'll be coming out. But what I will be doing, I've decided that in fact, when I bought this, I've come across a really good source for frames. The person I bought this off has a lot of frames. And I've got to find somewhere to put this now so that I don't break it. What I don't want to do is break a mirror. Here we go. So, whoops. Is that safe? Must remember not to let the cat in. Yeah, this person I met, he's got access to, well, it sounds like an unlimited number of frames. So I thought, well, I'm going to concentrate on selling a few paintings. I don't normally sell, but I have to think of the future. So, you know, I can teach and make videos, but it would be nice every now and then just to have the little windfall of a sale of a painting. Now, what I'm intending to do, because a lot of my paintings look as though they were painted at the turn of the last century. So why not put them in frames from that period? And I saw quite a lot of frames today, and they're all in excellent condition. So they're good quality antique. I have to figure out a price for my paintings. I don't know yet. I mean, it varies from minute to minute with me. Depends what I feel like. But bear in mind, a frame that size, the minimum that I would pay for that is 110 euros. So that's just the frame. So you know, my paintings have never been cheap, but not ridiculously expensive either. I mean, I think people should have access to paintings. There's no point pricing stuff out of the market because nobody will buy anything. So I'll keep the prices fair and see if I can sell a few. I haven't sold one for quite a while actually. Probably to do with the financial climate at the moment. Maybe people don't want to buy paintings because they're just trying to keep warm. Who knows? Anyway, what am I going to do with this now? I saw a couple of things while I was driving today, and it's just, I should have just done it before, you know. I should keep things bold. I like bold stuff. I'm almost embarrassed to have shown you that landscape. But anyway, there you go. You live and learn, don't you? So I think, let's have a look at this. Let's have a little bit, no, that's not dark enough. I'm going to make it darker than that. In fact, I'm going to put in Payne's grey with the green. And there'll be some red ochre in there too, a little bit of red ochre. It's funny, red ochre is one of those colours that dries on your palette overnight almost. I guess it's because it mostly contains earth. Anyway, there we are. Nice. I say there we are, and you're not seeing what I'm doing. So I do try to remember to insert palette shots, but quite tricky to organise. Right, so there we are. Let's see what we're going to do. We've got these shapes over in the background. Let's see. Let's have a little play. I'm going to just put in, first of all, some distance stuff. Just see how it looks. Just a few dark bits, a few up and downy bits, and then I think I'm probably going to put in. What am I going to put in? I think I'm going to put in something much closer to us. I'm going to put in something there that will be a pile of trees. Can you have a pile of trees? I suppose you can if you want. A bunch. It's a bunch of trees. A bouquet of trees. How's that? It's getting really silly now. A few little hints of something here, just to sort of try and keep the eye in. Let's have this going up quite large. I want it to be reasonably imposing. So all I'm doing at the moment, I'm doing the darks. This is the darks. I have to put the darks in before we put the lights in. And you also have to keep out of the way. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to put something here. So we've got a nice big clump of trees there. And I'm going to put some a bit of light at the bottom edge. Always helps just to have a little bit of light just through here. Like so. And then I think, let's see, tiny bit more green over here. I've always liked this effect. Okay, so here's my trees. Then they overhang here. And they sort of overhang and they float in the middle of nowhere like so. But that's absolutely fine because I'll be adding something to them. As long as it doesn't look like a giant beaver running across the landscape. Or a rhinoceros. Whatever it is. It has to look like trees. Let's have a little bit up there. I always like the effect of trees fading into the sky. It gives them movement. So what I'm doing here, I'm just sort of inventing a tree shape and putting it against the sky. As you can see, it does look like a giant squirrel. Never mind. I've seen giant squirrel trees. And let's see, what else can we put in there? A little bit more green, I think. Now over here, what am I going to do there? I think I'll keep that for the distant view. This gap under here, there is a reason that I have that. In fact, I might even do it both sides. I am going to be brave. I'm going to do it over there too. It's just a look that I like. I can't explain it. I just know that I like it. Now, it'll all come true in a minute. It now looks like a giant dark poodle poking its head over the horizon. There's one ear, there's the other ear. Now you've seen it, you can't unsee it. But that'll change. Everything is temporary. In life and in painting. Probably more in life, though, I think. Okay, so there we are. We've got a nice bunch of woodery. Now, am I at the stage when I want to put in these tree trunks here? Not quite, no, almost. I actually woke in the night thinking, that painting's no good, got to change it. So, and of course, when you decide to do that, it's always good to change it as soon as you can so that the paint is still wet. I always like to work on wet paint if I can. Doesn't always work so well when you leave it to dry and then you have to paint over completely. I like the lights to show through, you see, there are always different effects you can get. So let's have some interesting, am I out of the way? Sort of. Yeah, it's not too bad. Let's just put in some stuff. This is stuff. I think if I have to give this painting a title, I'd probably call it Painting with Stuff. See now how quickly you can build up an impression of distance. So sort of transitioning between very light movement across, then turn the brush, get the edge, move slower, and hesitate on the spot where you're painting, and then put in some dark trees, like so. And put in some light ones where you're working quickly, like that, there's a light one. And then same brush, no extra paint added, move slower, and hesitate in the area where you want the tree, and then you'll have a darker tree. So this tree on the left is closer than the one on the right. That's the theory. Yep, they look like distant trees. Now, this doesn't mean they're final. If I want to change them, I could completely change the whole lot. Don't know whether I do want to change them at the moment. I quite like them as they are. So I'm after a tonalist impression, I suppose. So I have one right on the edge there, just to keep us in the picture. So now, as the painting comes down towards us, let's put in some textures. Let's put in a little dark something here, like so. And how about a line of, I don't know, could be a hedge. A little bit of a something there. See, the more somethings you can get into a picture, the more interesting it becomes. Now, what should we do here? Let's try just, okay, so the brush is vertical, and I keep the top edge horizontal. Put it on the painting, and then move down and to the right. Down and to the right. Same here. I'm not going to keep repeating it, because I would find it irritating. So why shouldn't you? There we go. So I'm pulling some shadows across the picture. Okay, let's have something there. Don't know what it is, it's just another something. Just a hint. A few more textures. Let's have something coming right across there. See, the top is horizontal, but I'm moving diagonally. Now, if I want to come right down to the edge of the painting, I could lift the painting and put it on the edge of the easel, but I'm not going to bother. Don't need to do that. It makes it easier, but I don't really care. So I'm just after some textures down here. There we are. So we've got some kind of slope here. This slope could have something on the top edge of it, just a bit there. Like so. That's becoming much more interesting. Well, I'm glad I woke up in the night to do this, well, to think this through. Sometimes things just need to be slept on. Okay, a little bit of... Now, that's interesting. I wonder if you can see that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to move in a little bit closer. So all I did here, I just moved the brush up, like that, just a touch. And you see I got these lines coming up here, which are the beginning of something quite interesting. I'm going to do a few more, but very, very, quite faint. Well, he said, didn't turn out quite as faint as I wanted it, but never mind. Let's just leave that like that for a minute, and then I'll decide whether I'm going to keep it. Okay, I've decided I'm not. So I'm going to use, which brush am I going to use? I'm going to use this one, which has got a sort of bit of white on it and a bit of red in it. Not a lot, just a touch. I just want to sort of move it sideways through there. There we go. So I just knocked them back a little bit. Dry end of the brush just there. Okay, a little bit of blurring, doesn't hurt, actually, I quite like that, yeah. Okay, that's good. The way that I'm going to do the tree trunks, but of course I have to leave the tree trunks till everything else is done, otherwise I might regret it, and I'm not quite right. Not quite right? No, I'm not quite ready. I am quite right, I'm just not quite ready. So, piece of paper, and let's see what we can do. Let's get, first of all, let's get a few bits of texture in the trees. Move the camera a little bit. You can see that this is starting to have a sort of bulbous feel to it. The reason being is mostly because it's dark underneath, getting light, then dark again. So let's just move that camera over a little bit so you can see a bit more. Okay, so how are we going to make that interesting? Well, at the moment, as I said, it's got like ears either side. I don't really mind about that. It'll become less obvious in a minute. What I want to do now, before I finish off this stuff down here, which will only take seconds probably, I want to put in a few pale tree trunks. There will be dark ones and there'll be pale ones. And the pale ones, doesn't matter about the bottom at the moment, because I'm going to be just pushing up. So let's just put a hint in there of something. And then same thing again until it's completely covered in paint. Let's have another one there. Always try and get a bit of a waggle in them. Don't make them too straight. I know some trees are like that, but that doesn't mean to say you have to paint them like that. So let's have a few small, yeah, sometimes they go sideways. That's what I like about this method of working from the bottom up, is it has its own journey in life, so to speak, so you never quite know where it'll go. So it gives you that feeling of randomness. Up above the tree as well, just a hint. You can't really see it. Oh yes, you can. You can see it just there. Just a hint of it in the sky, because it's just a small thing. You know, don't become bogged down with detail too much. Get the feeling of detail, and let's just see what happens when we do this. Oh yeah, it's sort of interesting. That is actually quite interesting. You can just see it, I think, on the edge. Good. Now then, what should we do? I think we'll do a couple of pale ones here. Like so. They don't have to be too thick, so you have to remember this, whatever species of tree this is, and it's a fair way away from us. This is not like a solid standing oak tree. This is a bunch of smaller trees, something like hawthorn, one of my favourite plants. There we are. Now, right, so let's get one of these. This is a rigger. I use these quite a lot, but usually only for trees. I don't actually paint much in the way of rigging, but maybe I should. Maybe I should paint some sailing boats. They might go nicely in the frame. Okay, right. So now then, I'm going to move you a little bit more. Okay. So now I want to put in some dark trunks. So for that, I'm getting slightly more oil. It's exactly the same colour as the leaves, because at that distance, you're either going to see dark trunks or light trunks. That tends to be the way it is. Dark against the sky, light against the dark. Hope that made sense. Now, so I want some tree trunks in here. So I tend to start at the top and work down with a brush. With paper, I start at the bottom and work up. And it's purely because of gravity. It's sort of, for putting paint on, you see the paper is taking paint off really. For putting paint on, I prefer to work downwards, and I can sort of waggle as I go down, if you see what I mean. So let's have a little bit of a waggle there. Let's have a dark trunk coming in that way. Okay, so there's one. See, nice lean on it. And it's leaning because it's on the edge of the wood, getting pushed out, or something. I know, I've got to say something, haven't I? Let's have one more. Where should we have it? Let's have a little tiny scrawny one there, really light, just a slight touch like so. There we are. And then the other side of the tree, same sort of treatment. So I have one there. There we are. That one's leaning inwards. So I have another one just here. And they don't have to be, it's not solid paint, you know, it's quite thin paint. Because I'm not painting a barn door, painting a painting. And let's have one more in here doing that. Right, so that's that. Now then, I'm going to move down to the bottom area down there, get some texture in the ground, probably darken it right down in the foreground because, you know, the thing I did yesterday was very light. And I'm depending on how you look at my paintings, you know, I'm a dark, miserable painter. But, well, not miserable. I'm a dark, mysterious painter, put it that way. A little bit more texture on here, just to bring a few bits of leaf in front of some of these tree trunks, so that they're not all in the foreground. Yeah, quite like that, that's all right. Now then, back to my dirty grubby brush. In other words, the one that's got sap green and red ochre on it, and Payne's grey, and a little bit more oil. And this is linseed oil. I think I might have mentioned that at the beginning. I was just looking at the proportions of this next to the frame that I just bought, and there's not a big difference. So I might put this. There is, I mean, this is much bigger than the frame, but the proportion is about right. I might actually superimpose it into the frame later, give you an idea of what it could look like. Okay, I'm back. Right, so over there, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to first of all put a whole load of dark stuff down in that corner, and as I said, this is my sludge colour, and I have to say I perform better in paintings when I work reasonably quickly and slightly untidily, like so. You can get a feeling of a lot of foliage and things going on. Right, so let's have a little look here. I've got something I need to do there. I need to lighten the bottom of that little lot there considerably. The stuff over on that side here, you can't see it all at the moment, but I quite like what I've got there. This side here, I'm going to build these up so that there's just an impression of a pile of trees on the edge of the painting. I can always go back into that when it's completely dry to add any other sort of, you know, effects that I want. Okay, now then, a little bit dark, dark and light, the contrasts are a little bit high down there, so I might work on that. But down here, all this stuff, what am I going to do there? I tell you what, let's have a path. It's always nice to have a nice path, isn't it? Something to lead you into the picture. And there are lots of tricks. Okay, right, now, and I've covered this a few times. The best way to paint a path is to make it very wide at the bottom. Now, first of all, where's my path going to go? I could do the expected thing, and that would be to lead you in across that way. Don't have to do that. You can do it so that I lead you to this area. I think I'll do that just for a change. That'll give me a chance to fiddle with that. See, I don't like that at the moment, and I can smudge that around a bit and make it into something that I do like. So, piece of paper, turn it into a plug, in other words, you know, something like that, and then just take paint away. So when you want a path, make it wide at the bottom. It's got to be wide. If you don't make it wide, people won't want to walk up it. Right, if you make the path thin and spindly, it'll be like you're up in the air looking down on it. If you make it broad at the bottom, you bring the person, the viewer, down to ground level. You put them actually on the ground, and that is the thing that makes people think, oh, I could walk into that painting. That's why. It's like, let's do some myth busting. You know when people say, oh, it was a lovely portrait of Granny, or great granny, or whatever, or great grandfather, whoever, from over 100 years ago. So well painted. When you walked in the room, the eyes followed you around the room. Now, there's no mystery to how they do that. People say, oh, it's some kind of clever trick in the painting. It isn't. What it is you just paint the person looking directly at you. Their face may be turned the other way a little bit, but the eyes need to be turned to look at the viewer. It means that if I go over to the left of the painting is still looking at me. If I go to the right, it's still looking at me. So that's how that's achieved. There's no big mystery there. It's nothing, supernatural going on. It's just a trick. So let's get a little bit of light over there, just on the end of the path. And then I think a little bit extra light, just the odd little pool of light down here, like so. Now the path is sort of going past the trees. You can make it look as though it's coming slightly back on itself. But I think what I'm going to do, before I do that, I'm going to use a different piece of paper. I still don't like the contrast that's going on here. It's just a little bit too much for me. So I'm going to just sort of fudge that a bit. Just make it look a little bit more mysterious. And it's easier to do, obviously, when the paint is wet. Now, I'm hoping that that little scratch that I put in the paint there is making the path look as though it goes around that way and then back. It isn't quite, but it will. Because you know me, I never give up. There we go. Just trying to get the hint of a bend in the path. There we are. So it's taking you over there and it's leading you back. The other thing I want to do is, there's obviously strong light in the sky over this side here, so I'm going to bring some of that light back. Because why? Because I want to. Yeah. All the reason you need. Let's have a little bit of. Maybe quite not that much, or not quite that much. Or if you like it, but it's just looking a bit stark, you just sort of soften the bottom edge a little bit, like so. And maybe, here's an idea, look, let's take it into the wood. Let's put a pool of light in the wood there. Just a little hint that says, yeah, you can go inside that and rummage around if you want. Now then. Okay, let's see what we're going to do now. So we've got those interesting dark, well, really dark, slightly misty in fact, trees over that side. I'm just going to move the camera a little bit, but I probably won't cut it, I'll just move it. Oh, didn't need to even move it much, did I? Right, so there we are. We've got, let's have a sort of bank in the foreground, like so. Those slightly pale trees are behind this bank. Let me think. Think, Davis. What are we going to do? No, it's not exciting enough. Let's make them a little bit like that. Okay, I like that. That's more interesting. Okay. Fudge the bottom edge. You don't have to make it all, you know, solid. Just sort of scumble it up a bit. There we go. That introduces the one to the other in a more sort of gentle way. And then we've got a bit of dark here. What are we going to do there? That's just a bit of up and downing, I think. So, right, now the edge of the path. What you don't want. It's always good to tell people what they don't want. You don't know you don't want it, but I know you don't want it. The edge of the path, it's out in the countryside, right? It's not a motorway. It's going to be a little bit untidy. So the transition between the path and the grass needs to be a little bit all over the place. And in fact, some of it could be pulled down into the path, like so. And then let's have a little bit more darkness just here, because I want to bring that toward us a little bit more. Yep, that helps with the perspective. So that's just now, and bear in mind, you see, this is all preliminary painting. This sort of thing, you can leave it like this, you know, and it's just a very loose painting, or you can let it dry and then work on it later, adding other colours in the form of a glaze or something. So let's have some textures in there. That method, okay, for those who are interested, it's just that middle finger hitting the brush, and it sort of turns it into like a little power tool, and you can just aim it where you want to go on the painting. And see, I'm not touching the painting. I'm just getting my thingy charged up, right? So, and then hit the edge of the tree very lightly, so that you don't overdo it. You know, you don't have to. To be heard, one of the best things to do is to whisper. If you scream, people will scream and shout to get above you, so that they get heard. If you really want people to listen, whisper. They have to be quiet to listen to you. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm understating. And it actually encourages people to look at it and see the subtleties that you've got into the painting. When you see an amateur painting and it looks vivid, too vivid, the greens are too bright and everything's just too much, you know, all the contrasts are off balance, that's because someone is trying to shout too loud. All you need to do is just calm down a bit. Anyway, that's enough of how to lead your life a la Stuart Davies for the day. Okay, so let's a little bit more dark just there, and textures, as much texture as you can get into it. Yeah, so you see how the perspective works. Very broad, going off to narrow. You can't help but get perspective. It just happens. So, as they say, stop trying and start doing. Well, I'm glad, as I said, I'm glad I woke up screaming in the night knowing I had to change this picture. It's definitely an improvement. Question is, before I finish, do I need to do anything else to the sky? I don't know. Tell you what I will do though, while I'm thinking about it. Let's go and look over this way. See, because we've got our nice path. Are you in focus? I think you are. Okay, so I've got this, well, maybe I should leave it. I've got a lot of texture and stuff going on over there. Maybe this field needs to be flat. Have I got the whole thing in? Yeah, you're not quite seeing all of it. There we are. Got this sort of ridge here, slope coming down. Do I need to add anything into that area? I suppose I could sort of just do a little bit of hinting. Reasonable. That needs to be changed. Just there. And I think that is far more interesting. Okay. Right, so I think, who knows, that could be it. If it's not it, it will be it soon. What do I need to do so that I don't keep coming back and fiddling with it? Well, I suppose I could do a little bit of, tiny bit of foliage up here, because you don't always need the branch to show. If you get these things, you know, it's undrawn detail. Let me zoom in on that. That might help. Okay, so I can paint quite well. I'm just not really good with a camera. Let's just move that up a bit. Okay. Lock the camera, Stuart. Yeah, I think you'll see enough. Undrawn detail. In other words, there's a hint of some trunks coming through there. You don't have to actually paint every single thing, but what you can do, you can put foliage up in the sky, and the brain, your brain, will connect them to what's underneath. Because logically, you see, we know what's going on. We know there's a bunch of trees there. So if you do that, just very lightly, it can give the impression of the wind blowing and moving these branches around. In fact, I'm going to put one coming right out there, because you probably want to see it. Just a hint of something, and hopefully with a little bit of movement in it. And movement is a very strange thing in a painting. It's like painting a little bit of a blur. Right, I think I need a little bit more colour just in there. A little bit more strength, that's it. Right, I think I'm pretty well done. So before I go, what do I want to say? Well, right, do you want to come to a Zoom class? If you do, you can be a patron of mine if you go to my Patreon page. And I don't know how much it is you pay, but it's probably explained on the page. But you can get free access to my Zoom classes, or you get a big discount. Or you can just go to my Facebook page and you'll find links to the next lessons. And that link will take you to a company called Momence, M-O-M-E-N-C-E, which is the booking company. And you can book through there. It tells you the time. I mean, the lessons start at 4 p.m. France time, which is Greenwich Mean Time +1, so it's 3 o'clock in the UK. But when you click on the link, even before you pay, I think it figures out where you are, what your currency will be, and your time zone, which is very important. Because I have had people who've booked lessons and not turned up because they figured the time wrongly, I suppose. Anyway, the Zoom classes go on for officially an hour and a half. I paint for an hour, chat for half an hour, but I've never done that. I tend to chat with people until they finally scream for me to let them go, or they just collapse through boredom. But anyway, we chat about all kinds of stuff. But I like to, if possible, keep it on the subject of painting. And people can show me their pictures, and I'll give you a critique. And the critiques are done in a way that won't put you off painting. You know, I don't get rude or anything. I'll just tell you the truth. And yeah, and it's good fun too. It's a regular bunch of people, mostly from the US. My biggest audience seems to be over there. There are a few Brits, and also some French people have turned up a couple of times. Oh, sorry, I need to move the camera back. Anyway, so yeah, if you're interested, why not give it a bash? And of course, if you want to come here and spend, well, any amount of days that you want, I recommend 5 days. You need 5 because I paint on the first day and you would paint on the following 4 days. And in that time, most people can churn out 2 paintings. What else? And I will eventually, when the paintings are dry, depends on the amount of paint, how much medium was used in the pictures, depends how long it takes to dry. But I will post the pictures to you. And in some cases, I will have varnished it for you as well, but it depends what you want. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. And I may do some more work on the sky, but not for this video anyway. And yeah, enjoyed it. Hope you stay well, and hope you come back. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And if you hit the thumbs up button, oh yeah, and the little bell icon means that you'll know when I next put a video up. So thanks for being here. Take care. Bye for now.